My stepkids told me I'd always be nobody, so I signed every contract over to their mom and walked out. Now they're learning what life looks like without someone else footing the bill. Subscribe to the channel and share your stories in the comments. And now let's get started. My name's Jason. I'm 42. I build things for a living. Houses, mostly. Gut jobs, high-effort renovations. Not the glossy kind you see on TV, real labor. Nails and noise. Sore knees and weather-worn hands. I've got 2 kids of my own. Lily, 10, and Noah, 8. Their mother died when Noah was still in diapers. One rainy night on Highway 16. A jackknifed semi, a wrong lane. A fire that left nothing behind but metal and grief. That kind of loss doesn't fade. You fold it up, carry it inside your chest like a second set of lungs. Heavier, harder to breathe with. For 2 years, I didn't date. I kept my head down, worked double shifts, made sure the kids had clean clothes and bedtime stories. I lived for their routine, because anything outside of that reminded me she was gone. Then came Sarah. She was quiet, sharp around the eyes. A nurse, steady hands. Her laughter sounded like someone remembering how. We met through church, shared a coffee in the basement after a Sunday service where neither of us sang. She had 2 kids of her own, Ryan, 16 now, and Ava, 14. Teenagers from a man named Paul, who lived in town and saw them on alternating weekends. Corporate type. Slacks and Bluetooth earpiece. The kind of guy who texted running late while already forgetting what he was late for. Sarah didn't talk about him much. Just said things had fallen apart and that she wanted something stable for her kids. Structure. Safety. I believed her. God help me, I believed her. We dated for a year. I took her to quiet places. Lakeside diners, Sunday flea markets, playgrounds where my kids could run while hers stayed locked to their phones. I wasn't naive. I knew blending families wasn't clean. I knew Ryan might roll his eyes and Ava might slam her door. But I believed in effort, in consistency, that love, given freely, might eventually return. I proposed the following spring. Lily cried, hugged Sarah. Noah, bless him, asked if he could call her Mom. Sarah smiled, wiped a tear, and nodded. Her kids didn't react. Ryan didn't even pause his music. Ava just looked up from her phone and said, cool, before walking out of the room. The wedding was small. Backyard vows, folding chairs. I wore a gray suit. Sarah cried through the entire ceremony. Ryan stood with his arms crossed in every photo, not a single smile on his face. Ava wore headphones during dinner and snapped at the photographer. They didn't dance. They didn't toast. They barely looked at me. Still, I told myself time. We bought a new house. For bedrooms, big backyard. A wide porch where I imagined evenings spent watching the kids play. I installed a fire pit. Built shelves in the garage. Painted Ryan's room in the color he asked for. A dark, soulless navy. Ava wanted string lights and wall decals. I put them up myself while she sat on her bed texting friends I'd never meet. I made it a home for everyone. Movie nights. Pizza Fridays. Chore charts with silly stickers. I set it all up. I took on more jobs to cover the new mortgage plus the upgraded phones, school supplies, clothes. I paid for Ava's soccer, Ryan's bass lessons. I packed all 4 kids into the van on weekends, drove them to birthday parties, practice, malls. I made sure they had everything. I was trying with both hands open. But within 6 months, Ryan gave me his verdict. It was a Wednesday, mid-December. Snow outside, furnace humming inside. I'd just gotten home from work. He was on the couch, legs splayed across the cushions like he owned the place. His hoodie up, headphones in. I asked him to put his plate in the sink. Calm voice, no tone. He didn't move. I tried again. Ryan, plate, please. He pulled the headphones down slowly, as if I were a pest buzzing around his ears. Then he looked at me, really looked, and said, "You're nobody to me. I don't have to listen to you." Flat. No rage. No heat. Just stone. A line carved with purpose. I stood there, still in my boots, dripping melted snow onto the floor, my toolbox still in the truck. I didn't yell. I didn't even breathe. I think I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because there was something absurd about being dismissed in your own home like a substitute teacher no one takes seriously. Sarah wasn't home. She was working late. I told myself I'd wait to bring it up, that maybe I misunderstood, that maybe Ryan was just in a mood. But the next morning, Ava added her echo. I asked her to take her muddy shoes off before coming inside. Lily had just cleaned the floors as part of her chores. Ava glanced at me, blank as fresh snow, and said, "You're not my dad. You don't get to boss me around." Then she stepped into the house, tracking mud across the tile. I wiped it up myself. Lily saw. She looked at me, eyes wide, but didn't say anything. That night I told Sarah. Her response? "They're adjusting. Paul's been talking to them a lot. I think he's putting stuff in their heads." "They're teenagers, Jason." I wanted to scream. Instead, I nodded. Okay, that was my mistake. That was when I should have said no. No to silence. No to excuses. No to giving more than I had, just to be told I didn't belong. But I stayed quiet, for the sake of peace. Over the next few weeks, they stopped even pretending to hear me. They'd laugh at my rules, refuse to eat what I cooked, whisper to each other in the back seat while I drove them across town. Sarah never stepped in. Or if she did, it was with that same soft voice. "Come on, guys. Be nice." Like I was some unwanted guest we were all trying to be polite around. They listened to her. Always to her. Her voice was the only one that mattered. I became a placeholder, useful only when she needed backup, irrelevant the rest of the time. And my kids saw it. Lily grew quieter. Noah started following me around the house more, asking to ride in my truck, offering to help with tools. He saw me folding. I think he was afraid I'd vanish, too. Ryan started calling Paul Dad louder, in front of me. Ava would bring up the real family she used to have, describing vacations and inside jokes like I was a museum visitor. Once, Lily asked if she could sit next to me at dinner, and Ava said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Why? He's not even your real family." No one corrected her. No one defended me. It was death by 1,000 omissions. I stopped talking during dinner. I stopped suggesting outings. What was the point? They didn't want me there. They never did. I had built them a home, fed them, paid for them, sacrificed for them, and all I got in return was silence or disdain. The last straw that season wasn't even a blow. It was a glance. I came home early one day. Ryan was in the living room. Paul had come by to drop something off. They were laughing. Real laughter. The kind I had never heard from him. Not once. Paul clapped him on the back. Told him he was proud. Ava came down the stairs, hugged Paul. Smiled. They talked like they were whole. Then I stepped through the front door, boots thudding on hardwood. They fell silent. Ava looked past me. Ryan muttered something. Left the room. Paul nodded at me. "Jason." I nodded back. "Paul." He didn't thank me for raising his kids. Didn't acknowledge what I'd given. Just walked past me, out the door, and drove away in a car with better tires than mine. And there I stood, the man who paid the mortgage, fixed the sink, cleaned the gutters, patched Ryan's busted drywall after he punched a hole in it last spring, watching the man they adored drive away. I was a contractor in my own life. That night, I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at my hands, calloused, cracked, covered in 1,000 small cuts from years of labor. And I thought, what am I doing this for? The thing about erosion is you never feel the damage until it's too late. You wake up one morning and find the coastline gone, the porch sagging, the foundation split, and you ask yourself how. As if you weren't there the whole time, watching the tide inch closer with every silence you let slide. Ryan stopped pretending I existed. He'd walk into the kitchen, grab a soda from the fridge I stocked, and breeze past me like I was air. I started saying his name just to hear it in the room. He never answered. Sometimes I'd repeat myself just to make the point. Still nothing. Not even a flinch. It wasn't that he didn't hear me. He wanted me to know I didn't matter. Ava took it further. Her cruelty had an artistry to it. Passive at first. The smirks, the eye rolls, the whispered jabs to Lily that she thought I couldn't hear. But then came the theft. Lily's sketchbook went missing. A hardcover one. She'd been working on it all year. Her teacher said it was good enough to submit to a regional competition. She cried when she couldn't find it. Tore the room apart. I helped her look. No sign of it. A week later, I found it under Ava's bed. Ripped down the spine, pages torn out, the ones Lily had spent hours on. Ava shrugged when I held it up. It's just paper. I showed Sarah. She frowned. I'll talk to her. But she didn't. Or if she did, it didn't matter. Ava never apologized. Lily stopped drawing. Then Noah's remote-controlled model airplane, a birthday gift he built with me, piece by piece over 6 weekends, vanished. We searched the garage, the shed, every closet. I found it later in the yard. Crushed. Wings snapped, cockpit flattened. Ryan laughed when I held up the broken fuselage. Guess it wasn't built right, he said. I looked at him hard. Why would you do this? He smiled. I don't have to answer to you. Those were the exact words. Said like scripture. A belief passed from Paul to son. Like I was some seasonal employee, useful for the holidays, disposable the rest of the year. That night, I tried again with Sarah. Sat her down, told her this wasn't working, that her kids had crossed a line, that I was exhausted, from pretending, from biting my tongue, from being the outsider funding everyone else's comfort. She rubbed her temples. Jason, they're just going through it. Their dad's been saying things. I can't control what he tells them. Yes, you can, I said. You can tell them he's not the one paying the bills. That he's not the one driving them to practices. That I'm not just some guy. She shook her head. If I push too hard, they'll push back harder. They already have. That was the truth of it. She wasn't scared of the pushback. She was scared of choosing sides. Because choosing me meant confrontation. And Sarah had mastered the art of peaceful deflection. Better to let me absorb it than rock the boat. But I was drowning. And the lifeboat was getting smaller every day. Noah came to me one night, eyes red, voice small. Why do they hate us? I didn't have an answer. Just held him until he stopped shaking. That was the night I decided to start documenting everything. Not out of pettiness, out of clarity. I needed to see in black and white what my heart already knew. I made a list. Mortgage. My name only. Utilities all under my login. Insurance, medical, dental, home. Mine. Streaming services, internet, phones, my credit card. Soccer fees, music lessons, field trips, mostly Ava and Ryan. Groceries, I covered 80%, sometimes more. Car payments, Sarah's SUV, co-signed by me. Emergency fund, drained after Ryan's knee surgery last year. Paul never paid a cent. It was grotesque how much I gave, how much they consumed, and how completely I had been erased from the story. Then came the night the model airplane broke, the final drop before the cup overflowed. It was a Friday. I came home late from a job in the next county. 2-hour drive, back stiff, hands raw. All I wanted was dinner with the kids. I had texted Sarah earlier, said I'd grab takeout, everyone's favorite. She never responded. Not unusual. I picked up 4 boxes of pad thai and a couple egg rolls. When I walked in, the house was loud with laughter. Not the joyful kind, the mocking kind. I followed the sound into the living room. There was Noah's airplane, shattered on the coffee table. Ava holding one wing, Ryan snapping the other. Lily looked stunned. Noah was near tears. I dropped the food on the counter and marched in. What is this? Ryan didn't even pause. It broke. Get over it. Did you break it? He met my eyes with that same empty confidence. Does it matter? I looked at Sarah, standing in the corner with her arms crossed. She said nothing. Sarah, I said, barely holding it together. Say something. She hesitated. Let's not do this now. That was it. 5 words. A lifetime of betrayal in one breath. Noah whimpered. Lily took his hand and led him upstairs. Ava rolled her eyes. Ryan leaned back on the couch like he'd won something. I walked into the kitchen, opened a cabinet, pulled out a notebook, sat at the counter and wrote 3 words in block letters across the top. I am done. I stayed up that night finishing the list. Not just what I paid for, but what I enabled. What they had lost without knowing it. They had my roof, my food, my Wi-Fi, my effort, my patience, my presence. And none of it mattered because I wasn't Paul. Because biology mattered more than sacrifice. Because Sarah let them believe it. I stared at the list until sunrise. Then I made a new one. Action items, dates, contacts, calls to make, counts to transfer. Every tether, financial, emotional, I had to these ungrateful children, and their passive mother was going to be severed. This wasn't rage. It wasn't revenge. It was survival. There is a kind of quiet that only comes before collapse. The moment a structure realizes it can't bear its own weight anymore. That morning I woke before everyone else. The house was still cold. I sat at the table with a mug of coffee and the list from the night before. Each line was a confession. Everything I'd paid for, everything I'd carried. It looked less like accounting and more like autopsy notes. I opened my laptop and started making calls. Insurance first. I transferred the home policy into Sarah's name. The agent asked if there had been a divorce. I said, "Not yet." Utilities came next. Electric, gas, water. Each conversation the same. A polite voice confirming that my name could be removed. My payment methods canceled. I could almost hear the surprise on the other end when I said, "Yes, I understand the services will lapse if no one takes them over." By noon, I'd reached the cell carrier, the streaming platforms, the gym membership the teenagers never used but demanded I keep. One by one, the cables that tied me to that household snapped. I could feel the tension leaving my chest, replaced by something harder, colder, but clean. When Sarah came down, she found me surrounded by bills and open envelopes. "What's all this?" I didn't look up. "I'm closing the accounts." Her brow creased. "What accounts?" "All of them." She laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. "Jason, what are you talking about?" I met her eyes. "I'm done paying for a family that doesn't see me as part of it." Her smile fell. "You can't just, Jason, stop. We'll talk to them." I shook my head. "You had 3 years to talk to them." For the first time, she didn't have a quick reply. She just stood there, barefoot, her robe hanging open at the collar, her mouth working to form a sentence that wouldn't come. I went upstairs, packed a duffel with clothes, my tools, my documents. It didn't take long. I'd already been living light, just didn't know it yet. Ryan was in the hallway when I came down with the bag. He leaned against the wall, that same smirk plastered on his face. "Going somewhere?" "Yes." He crossed his arms. "Did Mom kick you out?" "No, Ryan. You did." He frowned. "Whatever." I walked past him. Ava was sitting at the kitchen counter, cereal half-eaten, phone in hand. She didn't look up. I paused by the door and said quietly, "You might want to remind your mother that everything in this house runs on bills under my name. That'll change by tomorrow." Ava's thumbs froze over her screen. I left before she could respond. That evening I stayed in a motel on the edge of town. Cheap sheets, stale air, the hum of a vending machine outside the door. It should have felt lonely, but it didn't. Felt honest. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop. Missed calls from Sarah. A string of texts. "Jason, please. The kids are freaking out. The internet's down. The cards aren't working. You're scaring them. Call me." I didn't. I went to work instead. Laid shingles, hammered nails, listened to the radio. Every sound of construction felt like resurrection. By evening, the calls turned frantic. When I finally answered, her voice was shaking. "Jason, what did you do?" "I did what you told me I was," I said. "Nobody." So I stopped acting like somebody. That's not fair. Neither was the last 3 years. I ended the call. By the third day, Ryan and Ava moved in with their father. Sarah told me in a short message, "They're staying with Paul for a while." I stared at it for a long time. A while. As if a while could fix years of rot. I didn't answer. I found an apartment near the shop. 2 bedrooms, nothing fancy. Lily drew pictures for the bare walls. Noah helped me fix the leaky faucet. The quiet there was different. Honest. Their laughter filled it without effort. No tension, no cold shoulders, just peace. Meanwhile, the news trickled in from Sarah's side. The credit cards bounced. The insurance lapsed. The SUV payment was due. Paul tried to help, but his version of help was a promise without follow-through. Within weeks, their comfort cracked. Sarah came by once, stood on my porch with a face that looked older than it had a month earlier. "They're struggling," she said. I nodded. "So am I." Her eyes filled. "I didn't think you'd really leave. You didn't think I'd really stay either." She looked away, arms crossed against the cold. "Ryan misses the car. Ava says she can't stand her dad's place. It's small. They don't have Wi-Fi half the time." I almost smiled. Sounds like real life. Her shoulders sagged. "Jason, they're just kids." No, they were kids when this started. Now they're old enough to know better. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then quietly, "Are you punishing them or teaching them?" "Both." She wiped her eyes. "They'll hate you for this." I exhaled slowly. They already did. That night, she left without saying goodbye. I watched her taillights vanish down the road, a red thread unspooling into dark. Weeks turned into months. The calls stopped. The silence grew thick. But then, one afternoon, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Ryan standing there. Taller than I remembered, thinner, hands shoved deep in his hoodie pockets. "Mom said you might help me find work," he muttered. I studied him for a long moment. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something rawer, uncertainty. "You mean you're asking me for a job?" He nodded once. "Paul's shop closed. I need money. I don't want to keep borrowing from Mom." I stepped aside. "You can start Monday. You'll sweep, carry, clean tools. Pays low, hours are long." He hesitated. "I'll take it." When he turned to leave, I said, "Ryan." He looked back. "You break anything this time, you fix it." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Yeah, I get that." Ava came by 2 weeks later. Brought Lily a belated birthday card. She lingered after the cake, hovering near the doorway. "I was mean," she said quietly. I nodded. "You were. I didn't understand what Mom was doing, or not doing. Now you do." She looked down at her shoes. "You don't have to forgive me." "I know." She smiled faintly, then left. Sarah never moved back. She stayed with Paul's shadow, trying to manage the mess without admitting where it began. Sometimes she texted photos of the kids at family events, as if proof that the world kept spinning could absolve her. I rarely replied. But my house, my real house, the one with fewer people but more peace, thrived. Lily started drawing again. Noah rebuilt his model airplane from scratch. One Sunday, we flew it together in the open field behind the building yard. It lifted smooth into the blue, caught the wind just right, circled above us. Noah grinned. "It's stronger this time." "Yeah," I said, watching it rise higher. "Because we built it better." That night, I lay in bed thinking of everything I'd lost and what I'd reclaimed. Sometimes love isn't staying and patching the cracks until you break with the walls. Sometimes it's walking out and letting the house fall so the ones who took shelter inside finally learn who held it up. And when they stand among the ruins, they'll understand the price of what they called nobody.